Good morning. It's Thursday, March 20th. I'm Philip Streible, Chief Market Strategist at Blue Line Futures. So most of the futures contracts, specifically the equities, they rolled over from March to June. So you want to do so if you're trading those futures. Now we are updating our precious metals chart pack this morning post-Fed. So if you haven't done so, you can register for it using the link in the description below. So a quick Fed recap here. Chairman Jerome Powell, he indicated that U.S. growth is likely to slow. Inflation pickup should be transitory and interest rates will probably come down before the year is out. The Fed's decision shifted the market's focus on the weaker growth outcome. Policymakers are indicating that they may cut rates 2 to 3 times in 2025, and investors are awaiting more details on tariffs, which could bolster the confidence here of the Fed in cutting rates. Now, traders are betting on 64 basis points of interest rate cuts this year, so it's between the 2 and the 3 mark. Now, my main takeaway and what really stood out to me was that Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, he used the word uncertainty 16 times in his press conference, meaning that I don't think he really knows what's going on here, and he's just watching this economy kind of just spiral out of control at the moment here at the helm of these tariffs and things like that. So that's why I think that you've got a lot of people kind of booking some of those gains here on that rally post-Fed. You got U.S. equities under quite a bit of pressure here right now. Even things like gold, silver, copper, all the markets here are basically in the red at the moment. Now, the strongest markets based on technical strength still remains here with gold, feeder cattle, and copper. They all rallied yesterday here. They're all under a little bit of pressure here, but not as much pressure as these other outside markets. And it tells you that the performance leaders, they really hold true to what they're doing because of the fact they got strong technicals and fundamentals backing them up. Now, looking at the performance leaders here in the yesterday's session here, you had orange juice was your best performing commodity, up about 9%. Those are the bottom pickers coming in. If you haven't seen a chart on orange juice, it's just spiraled out of control most of the year here. And then Bitcoin futures were one of your best performing commodities out there, rallying about 4% yesterday. So it tells you it was risk on. And then you had the VIX as your biggest lagger here. So risk on again. Now you look at silver, down about 1.75% yesterday. And I really believe that it was a rotation because some of the stories surrounding copper are really starting to take shape. You look at copper just barely down on this overnight session where you got silver down about 1.5%. People are rotating into what they believe is the best performer out there in the metal space. So it's mostly gold and copper at the moment. Remember, if you're betting in a horse race, you're gonna look at 1, 2, and 3. You generally don't bet those back ends. You want to kind of pigeonhole your trading here around some of the best performers in these things. So system buys, and that's for informational purposes only, there were no buys and sells. The last one that we saw was a recommendation here where it started to look at platinum futures edging higher, but I told you that it was a red flag because of the fact that we didn't hold our gains the day after the signal came out, and then we broke down yesterday, and we're continuing to sell off here today, dipping below 1,000 on that April platinum contract. So looking at the precious metals overnight, kind of what to watch for in today's session. So you're seeing some profit take shape here in gold, in silver, in the equity markets. The S&P 500 down about 0.75% at 56.88. The NASDAQ down almost 1%. Gold just slightly lower here, down about $5.80 at 30.35. That's on the April contract. Now looking at the pivot here, on that April gold contract, it's really like 30.45. So the market's got to break above that to start attacking some of the upper levels that I'm going to be looking at again. We did achieve an all-time high overnight, but again, like I said, I really believe that the profit taking really came into the market and people are reassessing some of their portfolio after this big move we saw up in the U.S. equity markets, looking at it as a possibility of a chance to get out of some of these positions that they might be a little bit overweighted in. Looking at the silver market, so under pressure yesterday, continuation here today, dipping below $34. Really, the key level, I think, is support on the silver market right now. So it was that 34.05. You saw that it kind of stalled out there on the sell-off, kind of held that yesterday. But with the market breaking below that overnight, it's this 33.70, about where we're trading at right now. But if you get the continuous liquidation going on, it's going to be right around 33, 34. If you look at the charts in the chart pack, you could see that there was a double top in that silver market that we were looking at. You could also see in the gold market this upward channel that we were looking where it was butting up against it. And gold usually either consolidates when it hits that level or it starts to pull back. It doesn't really have that blow off top in the markets. Now, I did see something in China. They put out in their state-run Chinese securities journal that they warned investors to be careful about gold prices and the volatility that's going on in the metals markets right now. So perhaps maybe that did kind of rattle the cage a bit and get this sell-off going just a touch here. So the key events today, the markets are digesting the Fed. We're going to want to see how does the 8:30 open react in the equity markets. Do they come in and do they buy the dip, or do they put more pressure on the market? And that pressure in the market could have a spillover in all these other outside commodity markets. We're going to have unemployment claims. We'll have Philly Fed. We'll have existing home sales and natural gas inventories. Nat gas is one that a lot of people have been trading recently. This will be the first report where they're expecting a injection, a build in the inventories because we've just seen a series of drawdowns. Now we do have storms in the northwest right now, a lot of snowstorms and things like that. So you might still continue to see some of that outflow here as far as nat gas inventories, and you might see prices boost up just a touch. Not a recommendation or anything, just an observation of what's going on here. So the ETF flows, exchange traded funds, they cut 32,000 ounces of gold in their trade in the last trading session. They also cut 665,000 ounces of silver in the last trading session. So what's that tell you? You got a slight decline. You got a bit of profit taken here yesterday. So gold year-to-date change, 4.9%, silver down about 0.2%. Really unfortunate that silver couldn't get positive because then we would start to see really that retail investor come back into the ETF game, and that's what is going to really need to take place in order to get silver prices at much higher levels here. So you guys got any questions? Again, updating the chart pack, use the link below in the descriptions. And if you got any questions, give me a call, 312-858-7303. Remember, futures option trading does involve risk of loss, may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.